Hello, my name is Jamar Brown, and I want to thank you for watching my short video on how to deal with the biggest detriment to your success in 2014. And it all starts with a four-letter word that starts with an F. And no, it's not the word that you might be thinking of. The word actually is fear. And fear is the biggest killer of dreams and hopes. It's the biggest issue that gets in the way of people pursuing their purpose and trying things that they've never tried in life. And what I wanted to do was to show you four ways, or tell you four ways to conquer your fears in 2014 that can help you to live the life you were put on this earth to be. And I had a conversation a couple of days ago with a gentleman who's an actor, and several years ago, 30 years ago to be exact, he sold a very successful medical practice that he had and pursued his dream of acting against everyone's thoughts about what he should do. He said, "This is what my heart is telling me to do." And 30 years later, he's a very successful actor, starred in commercials, television series, movies, and is living the life that he was put on this earth to live. And he told me something very important. He said, "Jamar, both cowards and heroes have fear." He said the difference is that heroes don't let their fear get in the way of what they need to accomplish. And he said he spent a lot of his young life being a coward, but once he made the decision to pursue his dreams of being an actor, he became a hero. And I really liked how he phrased that, because in my life I have been both a coward and a hero many, many times. And I think we can all imagine that being a hero is better than being a coward. And it's not the typical definition of a hero or a coward. Basically, to me, a hero is someone that decides to become the person they were put on this earth to become, and despite all the negativity, the gossip, the naysayers, the rationales to why they shouldn't do it, they do what they're supposed to do. They take the hero's step and they pursue their dreams without letting fear get in the way. However, a lot of people don't know how to get fear out of the way of their success. They feel fear, they experience fear, but they don't know how to get fear out of the way of their success. And I've spent pretty much my entire adult life studying things like fear and how to conquer fear, and not just studying it in theory, but applying it to my own life. And I've done many things, as I mentioned earlier, that at first I was fearful of doing, but then I learned how to conquer my fear and accomplish everything from writing 2 books, becoming an entrepreneur, changing jobs at times, and a lot of other things that have happened throughout my life. So let me give you 4 ways to help you conquer fear and become the best person, or the true person you were put on this earth to be. So the first thing we have to do is sort of kind of define what fear really is. And we're going to look at fear a little bit differently. And one of my favorite authors is Dr. Wayne Dyer, and his book, The Power of Intention, is a book I recommend everyone read. And in the book, there's a quote that literally has changed my life. Every time I have the wrong perspective on things, I read this quote or I think about it, and it completely changes my whole perspective. And the quote is, "When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change." When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that can be applied to anything in your life. So let's look at how we've looked at fear in the past. How we've looked at fear as something that has held us back, as something that prevents us from pursuing our dreams, as something that we believe is real and not imagined, like I'm going to explain that it is in a few moments. So the first thing is, let's look at fear differently. And the 4 things I'm going to tell you are really ways to look at fear differently. The first thing is all about preparation and doing the steps that need to be done so that you don't experience things for the first time, even though it might be something new for you. And there's numerous examples of that. And that is, the more that you are prepared, the more that you take the time to study what needs to be studied and to learn what needs to be learned before you take the steps. For example, if you're an entrepreneur, take business classes, talk to other successful entrepreneurs, go to other businesses that are similar to the one you want to create, and learn and study, because what you want to experience is how you can be totally prepared before you start something. And I remember throughout my career, people would say, "Well, Jamar, how did you get promoted so fast?" And I would say, well, I started doing the job before I ever got the job. For example, when I wanted to become a director at a company, I spent the entire year prior to going for the promotion and interviewing being the mentee of the director, letting him give me all of his work that he didn't want to do, or all the things that that he didn't have time to accomplish. I said, let me take on that extra responsibility. Let me take on that extra work because I was learning and I was studying. And so when I interviewed for the position, people were like, wow, Jamar, how do you know all these things? You've only been a manager for a couple of years. You've never done the job. How do you know so much? I said, well, because I've spent the past year preparing for this moment. Muhammad Ali also has a quote that he likes to say, and I'm paraphrasing, and that is, most people try to win the fight in the ring. I won most of my fights outside of the ring. And by that, he meant that he prepared and worked harder than anyone else. And he knew that it wasn't in the ring that made you successful. It was what you did outside of the ring when no one is looking. So the first thing is prepare yourself, study, learn, do everything that you can do to put yourself in the best position possible for success. If you have a public speaking engagement that's coming up, for example, or you have to deliver a presentation to your company and you're afraid of public speaking, practice, prepare, look in the mirror and do your presentation. Imagine yourself in the audience talking to people. The day of the presentation, walking around the room and shake hands and get to know people so it feels familiar. Because what happens is, whatever you try, there's going to be things that you can absolutely prepare for and anticipate. And those are things you should definitely prepare for and anticipate and make sure you are beyond ready to go. The other side is, are things that you're going to experience that come out of the blue that you haven't prepared for. And we're going to talk about how we deal with those situations in a second. However, oftentimes people spend too much time fearing things when they can take steps to prepare themselves so that the fear goes away because they feel like they've already done it before. The second thing is making your purpose bigger than your fear. Once again, making your purpose bigger than your fear. I've known people that have stopped taking drugs or alcohol cold turkey, people that have gone on a diet and kept the weight off for years and years and years, people that have changed their entire lifestyle overnight. And you go, what separates those individuals from individuals that don't do that, that can't keep the weight off, that keep doing bad habits and things that have led to the detriment of their life for years and years and years? And it all comes down to a simple word, and that is why. That is, they had a purpose that was bigger than the work required to make the change. For example, if you are trying to accomplish something and you're worried on how am I going to do it? I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough energy. I don't have the right people in my life. I don't have this. I don't have that. Then you want to accomplish it, okay? But if you go, I am trying to accomplish this because I want to leave a legacy for my child. I want to show my parents how proud they are or can be of their child that they raised. I want to see my grandchildren grow up. I want to live a healthy lifestyle so I can be around for my spouse for as long as possible and enjoy my life. I want to live a life that is not filled with regret and worry, but is filled with purpose and fulfillment. And when you look at it that way and you have a big purpose in your life, nothing can get in the way of your success. And there's a quote I like to use, and that is, if your purpose or your why is not bigger than the work required to achieve something, then you probably won't achieve it. If your why or your purpose, once again, is not bigger than the work required to achieve something, you probably won't achieve it. So you have to look at the things that you're trying to accomplish and look at the times you've had to start, stop, or you tried something and didn't continue it. And you look at what got in the way of that. And oftentimes it was the work that was required and the blood, sweat, and tears overwhelmed your reason for doing it, or your purpose for doing it wasn't big enough. For example, when I wrote my first book, and it took me 7 years to write the book, but I spent 6 years trying to figure out how to write a book. Am I worthy to write a book? Is anybody going to like it? And all those things that get in the way. It was all fear. But when I looked at my daughter, I said, look, I'm writing this book because I want to leave a legacy for her. I want her to know that her father isn't someone who just talked about things and theorized and said she can pursue her dreams. I want it to be a living example of what I was talking about. And when you have that as your focus, you can accomplish anything. And so after 6 years of not having a book, when I changed my perspective, I changed the way I looked at things, like Dr. Wayne Dyer suggested, my entire world changed. I had the book on the market, out on the market within a year, an audiobook, and I was traveling around the country speaking about the book. And so that's the power of having a very strong purpose in your life. The other thing is people have this idea of failure. And what I want to share with everyone is there really is no such thing as failure. Because if you learn, how can you ever have failed? Once again, if you've learned, then how can you have failed? And let me give you something very practical to think about. I play sports my entire life. Many of you play sports or you work for companies and there's awards such as Salesperson of the Year, Sales Manager of the Year. And some of you may have been fortunate enough to win those awards, like I won Salesperson of the Year, Sales Manager of the Year, and okay, big deal. The point is this, every year only one person wins those awards. So if you're in an organization where there's 100 salespeople and only one person wins the award and you come in second, does that mean that you failed? And human logic nowadays says yes. And I want to say that is completely wrong, because oftentimes the person that came in second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or even 10th was more successful than the person that finished number one. Let me explain what I mean by that. When I had a sales team years ago and we were ranked second to last in the nation, and then we changed our perspective, changed the way we looked at things, and the following year we finished number 2 in the country. So we moved from number 20 out of 21 to number 2 in the country. And we're at the award ceremony, and it was almost like people were giving us their condolences because we didn't finish number 1. Oh, you came so close. Oh, better luck next year, and all those things. And I started to at first feel like we weren't successful. But then I realized that the strides that we had made going from second to last to number 2 in the country was a bigger jump than any other team in the organization. So that was absolutely successful. And we learned things that helped us to become a team that was committed to success and winning, and committed to being the best individuals and professionals we could be. And so the following year we took that knowledge and finished number 1 in the country. But I would still argue that our move from number 2 in the country, from number 20 out of 21 to number 2 in the country was a more successful experience than winning the first place award. And so as long as you're learning something, as long as you're trying something, as long as you're out there doing the absolute best you can to make it happen, you're learning something. And remember, oftentimes what we think we want to achieve, it really ever looks like we had imagined when we actually achieve it. Very few people say, I want to be this, and they achieve that. But I do know if you don't take any steps forward, you're not going to achieve anything. However, if you take steps forward, just realize that sometimes what you think your purpose is, what you think you're trying to achieve, ends up looking and feeling like something different, because it's the exact thing that you were supposed to accomplish. Okay? And so, once again, there is no such thing as failure. Let's eliminate that idea from our minds, and let's understand that the only failure is not trying. Once again, the only failure is not trying. If you try, then you have already succeeded, and you will never fail if you try. The last thing is and this is something that it's funny every time I say it to audiences that I speak to, and I say, fear really just doesn't make sense if you really think about it, okay? Now let me explain why. Because on one hand, we know what it feels like when we want to do something that we haven't done. We know we have this dream in life that we haven't pursued. We have this idea about a business that we haven't moved forward with. And I ask the audiences, what are those emotions that you experience in those situations? And there's regret, there's sorrow, there's pain, there's agony, there's remorse, there's insecurity, there's anxiety, because you spend your entire life thinking about what you should be doing and you never start it, and so you feel bad about it. It doesn't feel good. Now on the flip side, take a second and think about something that you maybe were fearful of at first, but then you took the steps and tried it. It could be something as simple as asking somebody to marry you, or it could be leaving a job and going to a different job, or going for a promotion, or anything in life that you were fearful of that you attempted. And think about not just, okay, when you achieved it, how you felt, but even if you didn't achieve it exactly as you imagined it, but you took a step, how do you feel? And I ask audiences, and they say, well, I feel joy, I feel relieved, I feel like there's a weight off my shoulder, I feel good about myself. I feel confident. I feel happy. And so I say, okay, if that's the case, and you know how you feel when you know you should be doing something and you don't do it, and you know how you feel when you at least try something that you in your heart feel like you should try, you know that feels good, then why would you ever choose to feel bad? Isn't it your choice? Isn't it your choice either feel good or bad based on either pursuing or not pursuing what you want to accomplish? And everybody laughs and gets a chuckle out of it, and I still do when I think about it. It doesn't make sense. Why choose to feel bad? And so what I finish with is if you know that you're going to at least feel relieved or positive emotions by moving forward, why would you ever not move forward? Why would fear make sense to you? It just doesn't make sense. And what I'll leave you with is this thought. There are two roads, and I wish I had a visual to show you, but I'm in my kitchen right now on the last day of 2013, having a blast with everybody. But there's two roads. Just imagine this for a second. And one road is a road that is well paved, well lit. It's a path that everybody goes down, okay? It's a normal path of life. And let me say this, on that path, it's filled with a lot of regret and sorrow and pain because people have things that they wish they had done or they wish their life was different. But it's also filled with several people who have gone down that path and they had a phenomenal experience and they really are enjoying life. And when I was on the normal path in corporate America, that's how I felt. I had an incredible experience. I loved every moment of it. I have no regrets. And it's because of the things I shared with you. I feared not trying more than failure. And so I took chances. I left nothing on the table. I learned from all of my experiences. And those experiences have made me the person, the father, the husband, the man that I am today. And I absolutely love my life and I wouldn't trade anything for it. And so let's talk about that road. If you go down that road, which is a normal path, then do all in your power to enjoy your life, enjoy those experiences. Don't regret things. Make the most of the normal path of life if you choose to go down that path. Now let's say there's another path and the road isn't well paved and there might be some branches and leaves and uneven pavement and it's not well lit and very few people have gone down that path. And you're afraid to go down that path because you're not sure where it goes. The normal path, you see where it goes. The path over here, you're not quite sure where it goes. But that's the path of your purpose. That's the path of your life. And I encourage you, if you have anything that you're thinking about accomplishing in 2014 and beyond, if there's anything that is calling you, that's pulling at your heartstrings, that's telling you, do this, take a chance, take a leap of faith, try it. I'm just encouraging you to don't suppress those feelings. Go through the steps I talked about. Study, prepare, learn. Don't just jump into the water without knowing how to swim. You got to take the time to learn what you're doing. Make your purpose bigger than your fear, knowing that if you go down that path, there's something that is purposeful for you. And sometimes the purpose is not about you. It's about someone that you're going to inspire or influence because you've gone down that path. And so oftentimes our purpose is not about us. It's about leaving a legacy for your child. It's about showing another professional that's going through a tough time, hey look, I've been there, I understand what you're going through, and I got through it. And that's what that path is all about. And so I encourage you to, in 2014, whenever the fear element comes into your life, think about Dr. Wayne Dyer's quote, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Think about what I have expressed to you over the last several minutes. Fear regret more than failure. There is no such thing as failure. Failure and fear simply does not make sense because it's a choice. And make your purpose bigger than your fear. And I encourage you to visit my website, jamarbrown.com or thekaizenway.com, and share with me your stories throughout 2014 and beyond of how you conquered your fears once and for all, pursued your purpose, and experienced the joy and fulfillment of knowing that you are living the life you're put on this earth to live. I want to thank you all very much for watching. Happy New Year, happy 2014, and I hopefully will see everyone soon. Take care.